Good morning. About almost coming up on halfway through the month of July here now, and so halfway through the Insect Appreciation uh, Month event that we're doing through the North Coast Land Conservancy and iNaturalist. And today I thought I'd spend some time talking about where to go to find bugs. We spent the last couple of these videos talking about technical stuff like getting on to iNaturalist and taking pictures. And today I thought we'd spend a little bit of time about, thinking like a bug so that you can go out and find some things to take pictures of. And then we'll finish up the day by talking about where we are in terms of the statistics. Um, so to start with, let's take a field trip. We're going to go look at some habitats and talk about why they're good bug places. And we'll start right here. This is a meadow. This is a flowery meadow. This is a restored meadow that's at the Stucco National Wildlife Refuge, where they're working to restore butterfly habitat for the Oregon silver spot butterfly. North Coast Land Conservancy has several places that are in the works that will look to be like this someday. I was at one of them yesterday, and I couldn't get really good pictures of it, partly because of the weather, partly because of the tourists, and partly because there were about 25 elk in the middle of the field who wouldn't let me onto the property. But anyway, this is a lot of flowers, and one of the things that you want to go looking for when you want to go find some bugs is to find a place where there's a nectar species. The flowers have figured out that they can get bugs to do work for them by giving them a reward for going from one flower to another and moving their pollen around, so the flowers are reproducing through the bugs. And that's, in fact, one of the reasons why bugs are important and we should appreciate them. Why is this not doing what I wanted to do? No bother. Oops, there we go. And so here we have this is a mason bee. It's on some yarrow, and you can tell that it's covered with pollen here. It's going from one yarrow plant to another, and so it's moving the pollen around for the yarrow, and the yarrow is in exchange giving giving up a little bit of its pollen for the mason bee, which is going to feed the pollen to its larvae. Here is an American sand wasp nectaring on Canadian goldenrod. And again, same kind of deal. The sand wasp is going to go from one flower to another and move pollen around, and at the same time, it's going to collect both nectar and pollen for its offspring. And this is a white-spotted sable. This is a little, very small moth that's caterpillars eat goldenrod leaves, and you can, this adult is actually on goldenrod leaves right here. And so it's in its habitat. You wouldn't find these any place where there wasn't any goldenrod. And that's another thing about insects, is they're very plant specific. And some bugs are more open-minded. Bees and butterflies and things are a little more open-minded in terms of what kind of flowers they'll visit, but some are very, very host specific. And this is one that if there's no goldenrod around, you're not going to find this little moth. And that brings us to one of the big dilemmas that as human beings we have about bugs, is we have control issues about the bugs eating our plants. And of course, the plants are less concerned about being eaten. There are trade-offs that they make. You get eaten during part of your life cycle, and you get pollinated by the same bugs in a different part of your life cycle. So here's a Anna swallowtail larva noshing away at some angelica, and eventually it will turn into a butterfly. And here is an adult and a swallowtail ovipositing on the Angelica. So it's a circular life thing. They're going around and around. The plant gets eaten in one part of its life cycle. It gets pollinated in another by the same bugs or different bugs. And nature has all of these things figured out in a different way than we do. And a lot of times we're looking at human control issues, not a problem that the plants and the bugs are having. This is a bit of wetland over at Stanley Marsh at North Coast Land Conservancy property. Another good place to go looking for bugs, especially if you're into dragonflies and things like that, is to go to a wetland, and Stanley Marsh is as good a place as any to go to look for dragonflies. Here's a dragonfly called a mountain emerald, which is in a wetland in Gerhardt Bog. Gerhardt Bog is another North Coast Land Conservancy spot. So is Stanley Marsh. North Coast Land Conservancy is managing Gerhardt Bog, and there's a wetland plant that it's on. It's on some spirea. It's not using the spirea for anything other than a place to sit. A lot of times these dragonflies will catch something and then they'll land and eat. Most of the wetlands are surrounded by willows, and willows are one of my favorite places to go looking for bugs. This is an Oregon lepyrus, which is a kind of weevil, which is only found on willows around here. And it's kind of a cool looking weevil. It's one of the bigger weevils. It's almost an inch long, and you can find them if you look close. There's lots of different kinds of things that like willows. Willows are great places, especially if you're looking for beetles. There's beetles that specialize on the leaves. There's beetles that specialize on the flowers. There's beetles that specialize on the bark and the main trunk. And there's beetles that specialize on the roots. Beetles are actually pretty amazing in that they're the most numerous animal on the planet. The beetle group there are more beetles than there are anything else. If you were watching earlier this week on Instagram, we talked a little bit about beetles on Ringo Starr's birthday, and and we'll probably get back to beetles later on when we if we talk about insect groups and stuff in another episode. Not every single, insects really don't care whether it's a native species or a non-native species. That's a designation that we have. We have an understanding of why sometimes non-native species can be problematic. There are some non-native species kind of take over a habitat and they become monocultures. This is one of them right here. This is the Himalayan blackberry, and it is it can be quite invasive. You'll also notice this is another place this is actually the Thompson Creek part of Stanley Marsh, and you can also see some reed canary grass in there too. Reed canary grass is another problematic species that tends to take over a habitat, and so when non-native species become invasive to the point where they create monocultures, that's when they become a problem. But the blackberry also produces flowers, which bugs really like, and so it's a really good place to find butterflies and bees. So you don't have to, if you have some blackberries growing in your backyard or down the block, you don't have to find one of these really nice native species places native plant species places to go find stuff. Here's another, this is another one of my favorite non-native species. A lot of other people get really upset when they see a field full of these oxeye daisies. This is a European invasive species, and it certainly seems like it takes over some habitats, and you can see there's quite a bit of it here. This is out at Delray Beach, and the oxeye daisy attracts a lot of really interesting stuff. It attracts lots of bees and flies, but you also get a lot of beetles that show up and butterflies that use this particular species. And so it can be a fun species to go out and spend some time getting really close to the insects. And of course, when we're taking pictures, we want to get as close to the insect as we can so that we get a nice full picture that is easy for people to identify on iNaturalist. Here's another non-native species. This is tansy ragwort, and it is being serviced by a native moth. This is a day moth called the red-shouldered tenuka, and there's also some ants working this particular plant as well. Red-shouldered tenukas have just started coming out in the last couple weeks, and they are a fun species to take pictures of because when they're focused on nectaring, they let you get really close for pictures. The other choice you have when you're taking pictures and insects is to try to bring them to your own yard. And of course, one way that you can do that is to plant lots of native species, lots of flowering plants, things that flowers and stuff that are going to come to your yard. But another thing you can do is you can actually bring them in with a technique called lighting. There's also some other tricks you can do with spreading the branches of trees with the strawberry jam and stuff like that, but we don't want to get that complicated here. But you can just put a light up in your backyard, and the traditional way to do it is to take a white sheet and either hang it on a wall, or in this case I have a frame that I hang it on, and then use a light on that. In this case, this is a black light. If you're a child of the 60s and you had a black light and black light posters, go to your closet, pull it out, and set it up to get moths with, because that's all this is. That's just a black light. You don't have to do that. You can just take in this case, this is a piece of whiteboard, and I have a regular standard bulb. One of the frustrating things that I'm finding lately is these LED lights that we're using for lots of really good environmental reasons don't work very well for gathering moths. This is a standard compact fluorescent bulb that I have here. Sometimes I don't even bother to put up a sheet or a white thing. I just hang a light from the wall here. You'll notice a lot of my moth pictures especially have a kind of gray concrete background to them. Well, that's because that's the wall to the back of my house. This is another black light, but this black light doesn't have the blue filtered tube on it that most black lights have. So it's putting out the black light spectrum. Bugs seem to be attracted to the blue end of the light frequency scale. But in this particular case, this is also putting out, it's not just putting out black light, the ultraviolet light, it's also putting out other frequencies near black light. There are some advantages to using a sheet. First of all, you get a really nice white background. You can use the thread count to figure out how big the bugs are. That's kind of nice, but you can get some really nice shots. And again, these are shots that I'm taking with my macro lens and a flash. The reason why they're so well lit is because I'm using a flash on my camera. Not just moths, but other things show up and hang out on the sheets as well. And again, you can see here by the thread count, this is the same sheet. This is a much, the one on the left is a much closer photograph, and the one on the right is, that's a 10-lined June beetle, and it's very large. It's almost 2 inches large. When you get those in your backyard, it's a good day. And all of these things can and will show up in your yard when you set up a light. So putting a light in your backyard is another way to do this. Let's talk about what people have been seeing. And this is the current board here. We've been here before with other stuff. We now have 15 members contributing. You can see here that as of this morning, we have 428 observations, over 200 species. 49 people from around the world have been helping us identify bugs, and we have 11 out of the 15 people have contributed at least one photo. I want to also spend some time talking about some cool photos here. This is one that David Bailey found, or at least reported yesterday, which is a beetle that I've never seen before. And be quite honest with you, I thought that this is a snail-eating beetle. Most of the snail-eating beetles we get are in the genus Scaphenotus. This is a snail-eating beetle, closely related snail-eating beetle called Cycris tuberculatus. And if you look at it, if you know your snail-eating beetles, it has a lot of things that are similar to snail-eating beetles in terms of morphology, but there are some things that are distinctly different, especially this bumpy elytra, which is the tuberculatus part of this. Tuberculatus means tubercles or bumps, and that's what we got going on there. Again, I've never seen one of these before, and they're actually the common name for the group is rare snail-eating beetles, as opposed to the Scaphenotus ones, which are very common snail-eating beetles. But that's kind of fun. Another one that I wanted to highlight was this one here. I think this is Andrew Emlin from across the river, Skamakawa. It's another beetle, and this is the greater night-stalking tiger beetle. These are fairly rare. I have seen these before myself, paying attention, but again, they're not easy to find. You certainly don't find them doing this. This is, of course, a little bit of reproductive activity. So that's fun. And there was one other I wanted to mention here. This is another weevil. It's not now I remember which one I wanted to show you. Jim Johnson has started adding stuff, and he spotted some river jewel wings. I assume he was probably up in the east part of the county finding them. Let's see if I can find them here. Oops. Again, if you want to find something, this is the way to do it. You just type something into search, and it will pop up. This is Jim Johnson right here, the special dragonfly logo there. These are river jewel wings from really cool looking damselfly that he actually found them near his home, but his home is actually, because of the way we've drawn the map here, is his home counts. We did that because we've got some members who live in the Beaverton, Tualatin area who we wanted to make sure were able to participate. So that's how that's working. So yes, you can still join the project. The project is open all month. You can join at any time. You can actually join now, and even if you had pictures you took yesterday, if you put them in, the project will pick them up. The project is picking them up for the month of July. So if there's anything that you've already taken pictures of, we're too shy to post, but now are feeling a little braver, you can do that. if you can still join, not a problem. And as you can see here, there are people who've joined who are kind of lurking. That's okay too. We don't judge. But it is it's easier than you might think it is to participate. It's pretty easy to go out and find yourself a patch of flowers in your garden, in the backyard, down the street. Take some pictures of some bees. Once you start looking at the bees, you're going to discover the flies, and some of those flies are pretty good looking, so you're going to want to take pictures of them. And then all of a sudden, the swallowtail will fly by, and you'll spend 10 minutes trying to get close enough to it to get a picture. And it can be habit forming. And remember, it's you don't have to know what you're looking at. All you have to do is take some pictures, try, upload them. We'll help you figure out what they are. That's part of the fun of this. Part of the reason why we're doing this is so that we can all stay connected and have a bug party without having to breathe on each other. So anyway, keep going out there, keep wearing your mask, look for stuff, have fun, and post it for us. Join and post it. All right, and we'll see you in the field. Good day.